your apologists and scholars when they contradict your God and your prophet. Take an issue like what the Quran says about the Bible. The Quran affirms the inspiration, the preservation, and the authority of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. But your apologists and your scholars tell you that the Bible's been corrupted because they know that the Bible contradicts the Quran. And so, who do you believe here? Do you believe your God and your prophet, or do you believe your scholars and apologists? And every single time you go with mere human beings who are contradicting your God.
Hey, okay, Apostate dropped. Muhammad looked toe up. That's supposed to be Muhammad.
There are so many questions that I want to ask Muslims. We could go on for hours, but we want to keep it short today and ask 10 questions that Muslims should answer to themselves or to us. Are you aware that the Quran refers to disbelievers as worst of creatures? It says that those who disbelieve in Allah, the Jews and Christians, the polytheists and others, are the worst of creation. Can you believe that Allah hates his own creation so much for refusing to believe in him? And how would you feel if different religions said the same thing about you? What would it feel like if you were referred to as the worst of creatures just because you did not believe in someone else's religion?
Why doesn't it bother you that all of your apologists are liars?
Let us know, David Wood.
I mean, when they tell you things like the Quran has been perfectly preserved and the Quran has all these scientific miracles and so on, these are indisputably lies.
Indisputably.
And we catch them lying over and over and over again, and it never seems to bother their followers. So why is that?
Why does the Quran contain...
That's a question I want to know. Why, oh why do y'all let these lies just go by? Why? Why is it that the Ali Dawas of the world could come up and say, oh, scientific miracles are trash? Well, he likes to say that, oh, because science is changing all the time. So if science is changing all the time, how come your Allah didn't get it right the first time since he's eternal? But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. So the perfect preservation is trash. But yet people are still in the comments to this day talking about, oh yeah, word for word, dot for dot. Top apologists don't go by that no more. You won't hear Muhammad Najab say that no more. He ain't said that for about 3-4 years now. But yet there's still people out there that get taught these things and they say, hey, I was taught this, it's true. No, it's not. They want to lie to you, get you hooked. And then you either still believe in it, or because you are hooked in there, you're like, well, I can't leave now. I'm a part of it now. Because everything that the Quran talks about, perfect preservation, trash, not true. Scientific miracles, trash, not true. Contradictions, trash, not true. Everything that people are getting drawn to by the Quran is not true. And then if you listen to people like Sam Shamoon and Rob Christian and Christian Prince and all these other folks, the monotheistic understanding of the Quran is still not true. That's not even true. Via the Quran's words and hadiths as well. Talking about the pages of the Quran that go to intercede. That's a lot of intercessions from one eternal being, apparently. But yet this one eternal word turns into many different ways of interceding. But with that, people are still going to be like, nah, debunk, it's not true, it's not true. No, what it is that you believe is not true. So there's so much that the Quran gets wrong, but yet y'all still want to follow it. Some of it is just because you guys are subjugated to. Some of it is just because your lack of comprehension, your lack of knowledge when it comes to all these other areas. But either way, we got to know, why is it that your apologists can lie and be shown to be liars and y'all still rock with them? That's a great question. On to the next one. And this one's going to be crazy because a lot of people are like, that's not true.
Stories that are taken from different cultures, from folk myths or from different religions, such as, for example, Dhul-Qarnayn, a character found in the Quran that corresponds to Alexander the Great and legends that people told about him. What about the people of the cave, for example? People who went into a cave and slept there for a few hundred years. The information found in the Quran about them is not even very clear, but this is a folk tale taken from Christians, things that they told to each other. These things made it into the Quran because people asked Muhammad about these things. He had no answer. He went away, probably got those answers from somebody, and then told people about these things. And they were then included in the Quran.
Why do you listen to...
And that's not even all of them. That's not even all of them. We all know the amazing story of Jesus creating the bird from clay. Gospel of Thomas, right there. That's where they stole that from. Gospel of Thomas was a book that was written hundreds of years after the death of Thomas. So obviously it wasn't him. Forgery. And that's what they copied off of. What else they copy off of? Abraham being thrown to the furnace. That's a Jewish Midrash text. Not from the scriptures, though. They copied it because they heard it. Muhammad heard all these stories, amalgamation, put them together. Bam. That's what they got. That's crazy, y'all. That's crazy. And there's more that I can't even think of off the top of my head. But there's more of them that the Quran just steals. And y'all just like, it is what it is. It's like, I think I seen Shabir Ali not too long ago talk about these things. Like, oh, the Quran is just using these stories that we know of, not that they're literal, but to then show a deeper message. Okay. So the Quran is taking from these other stories that are used around this time or used before that, and then put together to make sense of what the Quran is. If that's what you want to go with, be my guest. But
your apologists and scholars, when they contradict your God and your prophet, take an issue like what the Quran says about the Bible. The Quran affirms the inspiration, the preservation, and the authority of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. But your apologists and your scholars tell you that the Bible's been corrupted because they know that the Bible contradicts the Quran. And so, who do you believe here? Do you believe your God and your prophet, or do you believe your scholars and apologists? And every single time you go with mere human beings who are contradicting your God.
Do you know who Yahweh is? Who is Yahweh? Is Yahweh Allah? Is Allah Yahweh? Do you have any idea about this name? Is it not strange that the Abrahamic God, the biblical God, is known as Yahweh because that is his name according to the tradition, according to the text, according to the beliefs. But yet Islam is completely unfamiliar with this name. You are completely lost when it comes to this name. And you should be aware of this name because the Quran itself contains figures like John or Jesus or Elijah whose names praise Yahweh. And according to the Quran itself, Allah gave some of those names. So Yahweh was very important. But you don't know who Yahweh is and what Yahweh is. What is all that about?
Why does your religion claim to respect Jesus when it actually insults?
I think this goes back right here to question number one for me, right? How the Quran states that the believers that are Christians and Jews are the worst of creatures. But yet there's a lot of Islamic folks, Muslim folks that like to say, oh, we love you guys. We don't disrespect you guys. You guys do whatever, yada, yada. No, your book actually states this. Your book states that we're just worse than worms and maggots and all that. And then y'all be like, nah, y'all cool. Y'all just misguided, stuff like that. Nah, just be upfront and honest with it. But it's the same way that people like to say, oh yeah, we don't disrespect Jesus, we love Jesus. No, you don't. If Jesus is God and you taking away his divinity and you're taking away who he is, who he said he was, who the apostle said he was, who the Father said he was, who the entirety of church history, the true church, the Christian church says he is, that's not respect. That is definitely insulting. You're taking away his divinity. If I were to say that Allah is not God and he's just a weird dude that's built like a shelf that ain't got all the pieces together, or if I said he was built like a glass of milk but the bottom of the glass has a hole in it, or if I said because he had two right arms and no left arms he couldn't really do the Cabbage Patch, if I said all those things and took away Allah's divinity, y'all would be mad and say I'm insulting the brother. But yet when y'all do that to Jesus, y'all don't think it's the same. That's crazy.
Jesus. I mean, you think, oh, well, we're calling him a prophet, so we're respecting him. But if you look at what you actually claim about Jesus, he turns out to be the most epic failure in the history of the prophets. I mean, he came, he won all these followers.
By the way, if I said those things, I'm not saying I said those things, but if I were to say those things, y'all would say that's an insult.
Followers who converted to Islam, and then everything fell apart because he did such a horrible job. Everything is corrupted. He couldn't win a single lasting convert. And that's what you really teach about Jesus. And so you claim to be respecting him, and yet as soon as we dig beneath the surface, we find all kinds of blasphemy.
What about the Caba? In Islam, the
Caba.
Caba is extremely important. It is seen as the first house built for mankind in the name of Allah. According to the Islamic narrative, it was an extremely important house. Allah values it so much. It was built for humanity, for the people, to come there and to circle this cube. But yet, when we look at the actual history, we have no historical records, nothing about the Caba. Abrahamic religion, biblical religion, and tradition is entirely disconnected from the Caba. The very prophets and books that Islam refers to from the past are entirely disconnected from the Caba, and all we have is that the Caba is a pagan temple adopted by the Muslims.
What do you mean when you say that Muhammad was the greatest man who ever lived, or at least among the greatest men who...
Yeah, boy, this is Diddy's right here, boy. This is Diddy's idol, if you ain't know. Muhammad, Epstein, same person, one and the same. Just, you know how like we had areas back in the day for the Christians, the heretical view that they try to go against, but then ultimately the true Christians won with the scriptures. And then now we got the JWs. Muhammad was basically what Aries was to the JWs, and now we got people like Diddy and Epstein and all these other people. That's who Muhammad was, but yeah, people love to say he's the greatest man. I can't tell you how many debates I've heard when people say, oh yeah, no, you should never consummate a marriage or even marry anybody who's 6 years old. No, that's disgusting. But then if they don't know and then they find out, oh, their prophet did that, Allah knows best. Oh, so Allah knows best now that you found out it was your prophet that did it, but prior to, he ain't know. That's crazy, y'all. That's crazy. People who believe that Muhammad is the greatest of all time, is one of the greatest moral individuals, just need shot. Their comprehension is that of somebody who's trying to use a remote control with no batteries in it. Like someone who's always walking around constantly like, yo, where's my phone? Oh, there it is. Like somebody who puts no sugar at all in the Kool-Aid. Just nonsensical all around, don't make no sense. But let's get back into it.
who ever lived. This is a guy who had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. He took the wife of his own adopted son after causing the divorce by lusting after her. He bought, owned, sold, and traded black African slaves. He tortured a man for money. He allowed his followers to beat their wives into submission and to rape their female captives and to hire prostitutes. You could make a list of the worst things a human being can do, and Muhammad did a lot of things on the list. So these are normally things we would mean that a good person doesn't do. So what in the world do you mean when you call Muhammad great?
Why do you trust Muhammad? Why do you think he is a reliable prophet? Why do you consider him a final messenger? Islam tells you that he is the final messenger. He is perfectly guided by Allah, the most perfect human to ever walk the face of the earth. But when we look at the reality of things, we see that Muhammad suffered from situations that look like he had mental problems. It looks like he had a brain problem or mental problems, which gave him a lot of suffering. Revelations that he received, which are Quran verses, gave him a lot of suffering, a lot of pain. Why is that how Allah reveals his scripture to Muhammad?
Why do you get mad at us for telling you the truth? Your scholars and apologists spend your entire life lying to you, making things up about Islam to make you believe in it, making things up about other ideologies to keep you from believing in them, and they're constantly lying to you. And then we come along and we say, no, that's a lie. But instead of getting mad at the people who've been lying to you your entire life, you get mad at us for caring enough about you to tell you the truth. Why is that?
As said, there are so many more questions and we could go on forever, but these are 10 questions that we want to ask Muslims. And I think Muslims should ask these questions to themselves before they try to answer us. Have a fantastic day and
stay away from Islam.
Hey, yo, shout out to those brothers right there. So shout out to Apostate Prophet and David Wood asking 10 questions that I would like Muslims to answer. So if you made it this far and you're Muslim, go ahead on and in the comments answer all 10 of them, if you will. If you can, go for it. Or even just answer one, maybe 2 of them. Whichever ones, it don't matter. But just answer them because those are some fantastic questions. With that being said, go ahead on and like, subscribe. Hit that noti bell so you can be notified anytime that I drop so you Don't miss any of these videos. I do these type of pre-recorded reactions. I do live reactions, and also have people come on and share their testimony, talk about what God is doing in their life. This channel is dedicated to the education of the truth and the exposure of the lies of these other beliefs, false beliefs, heretical views, Islam, anything like that. So apologetics, polemics, and just knowing the truth, knowing the history of what it is that we have, what God has revealed to us from way back when to where we're at now. This has been your boy, Scripture Plug Albert. Stay plugged in with your boy. I'll catch y'all next time. I'm out.